Hi guys, thought I would just bring you the main points in the arrest warrant for LETECIA STAUCH, accused of murdering her stepson Gannon STAUCH. So she's been charged with murder in the first degree for a child under 12 in a position of trust, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with the deceased human body, and tampering with physical evidence. So the affidavit mentions the family, that it's blended. So the father is Eugene Al STAUCH, stepmother LETECIA STAUCH, daughter Harley Hunt, who is 17 by blood to LETECIA, not Al, son Gannon, 11 years of age by blood to Al, not LETECIA, and daughter Lena Minor, 8 years of age by blood to Al, not LETECIA. The following vehicles also feature in the affidavit: a red Nissan Frontier, that's Al's main vehicle; a black Volkswagen Tiguan is LETECIA's main vehicle; and a white Volkswagen Jetta, Harley's main vehicle. Also, there was a silver Nissan Altima, a rental car obtained by LETECIA's aunt Brenda Acquard and utilised by LETECIA from January 30th to February 1st, after her Tiguan was seized by EPSO on January 29th, 2020. There's also a white Kia Rio, a rental car obtained and utilised by LETECIA on January 28th and 29th of this year. The affidavit basically states that LETECIA was the last person known to investigators to see 11-year-old Gannon STAUCH. LETECIA is Gannon's stepmother and was Gannon's only known adult supervision in the days preceding and on the day of his murder. At the time of Gannon's murder, LETECIA was employed by School District 20 as an assistant teacher, although I have also learned she is no longer employed there. They were able to locate prior criminal history for LETECIA. Learned that in North Carolina, Robeson County court case, LETECIA was convicted after a trial for communicating threats, a misdemeanor, but I was not able to locate her sentencing information. LETECIA was also convicted of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle in Robeson County and was sentenced to 45 days confinement and 18 months of probation. Although not criminal in nature, I was able to locate a document memorializing the suspension of LETECIA's North Carolina teaching certificate on or about May 11th, 2016. As part of that document, it is reported that LETECIA had filed unsubstantiated claims of harassment and retaliation, and the North Carolina State Board found that Mrs. STAUCH breached her contract by engaging in unprofessional conduct, willfully neglecting her duty, and failing to comply with the provisions of her contract. LETECIA's criminal history is only included by way of background for the court, and because LETECIA has been convicted of previous crimes, it is not meant to indicate guilt of the violations or to be considered as the sole basis of probable cause for the requested warrant. Eugene Albert STAUCH, who we'll refer to as Al from now, is Gannon's biological father and is married to LETECIA STAUCH. Mr. STAUCH was deployed with the National Guard during the dates of January 25th, 2020 to January 28th, 2020. Mr. STAUCH spent the night in Denver on January 25th and departed via commercial airline on January 26th, returning via commercial airline on January 28th. Investigators were able to corroborate this information, and Mr. STAUCH has cooperated fully in the below investigation. On January 27th, at or about 18:55 hours, LETECIA reported Gannon missing after calling 911. During that call, she was instructed to call the El Paso County non-emergency line. In summary, LETECIA stated Gannon was supposed to be home approximately 1 hour previous and that she was unable to locate him at his friend's house. Her story dramatically changed multiple times over the following days. Investigators do not believe LETECIA went to any neighbouring houses to attempt to locate Gannon, and that was one of many lies told by LETECIA during the investigation. LETECIA was unable to provide the actual location of the homes she went to. The names of Gannon's friends he was supposed to be playing with or the names of the parents of Gannon's friends. Deputies responded to Letecia's residence and were unable to locate Gannon. Deputies conducted a limited search of the residence and took a report from LETECIA. Some of the interactions between the responding deputies and LETECIA were captured on body-worn camera. A missing persons investigation was initiated and in the coming days developed into a murder investigation. A tip line was established and investigators received hundreds of tips and leads from the public by virtue of emails and telephone calls. As part of this tip line, 2 ransom notes were received by email demanding money in the form of Bitcoin in exchange for Gannon's return. Investigators took steps to validate these ransom notes, including resolving and geolocating the Internet Protocol addresses from the email headers and requesting subscriber information from the Internet service providers that hosted those IP addresses. One of these ransom notes was sent from a foreign-based email account that is accessible by multiple individuals. Investigators were unable to trace the user of the IP addresses and believed the ransom notes to be fraudulent and strictly designed as a scheme to receive money. LETECIA initially claimed that she last saw Gannon on January 27, 2020, when he left their residence to play with his friends somewhere around 3:15 in the afternoon. Based on the facts outlined below and LETECIA's statement to an El Paso dispatcher, LETECIA is the last person that ever saw Gannon alive. LETECIA stated she attempted to find him at a neighbour's house and sent her daughter Harley Hunt to look for Gannon at a park. LETECIA lied to investigators on multiple occasions, has unexplained abnormal behaviour such as obtaining a rental car, disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for an extended period of time, the false reporting and alleged rape, abnormal patterns of travel, continuously evolving story with material changes in facts and circumstances, and has since left the state of Colorado. These actions, when combined with other facts in this affidavit, support the totality of probable cause for the requested warrant and will be discussed below. Investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by LETECIA STAUCH in the afternoon hours after approximately 2:14 p.m. of January 27th, 2020 at his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Physical evidence recovered from the residence and inside Gannon's bedroom supports that a violent event occurred in his bedroom which caused bloodshed, including blood spatter on the walls and enough blood loss to stain his mattress, soak through the carpet pad and stain the concrete below his bed. Some photographs of this evidence are included below. Based on evidence recovered from the residence, Gannon's remains were eventually brought through the house into the garage and likely loaded into the back of LETECIA's Volkswagen. After cleaning the murder scene, LETECIA utilised the car to transport and dump Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28th. LETECIA likely disposed of his remains off Highway 105 South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Indeed, the Metro Crime Laboratory determined that blood discovered in Gannon's bedroom, the STAUCH's garage, and blood on a piece of particle board located off Highway 105 South Perry Park Road all matched his DNA profile. On Monday, January 27th, Gannon stayed home from school. Based on text messages from LETECIA to Mr. STAUCH, Gannon was up most of Sunday evening with a stomach problem. LETECIA did tell Gannon's school, Grand Mountain Elementary, that Gannon would be absent on Monday. Investigators were able to verify that Gannon was marked as an excused absence that day. LETECIA also told Al that, "I'm just going to give them an excuse at work and stay with him." Indeed, LETECIA did come up with an excuse and told her employer via text message at or about 04:37 hours that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and she would not be able to come to work that day. Other electronic evidence such as time and date stamped photographs and videos were recovered from LETECIA's cellular telephone that indicate Gannon was likely still alive during the morning of January 27th, 2020. Images were taken on Letecia's cell phone at or about 08:13 and 08:17 hours on the morning of January 27th, showing Gannon sleeping in his bed. Of particular note, his Nintendo Switch, a small video game console, is visible in the photo lying next to him on the bed. Mr. STAUCH had said that this gaming system was of high importance to Gannon. To date, investigators have been unable to locate the Nintendo Switch. It should also be noted that LETECIA used her phone the following day, January 28th, at or about 12:57 hours, to conduct a Google search, "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" This is also detailed in a list of some of her search history, and reasonably occurred because she was contemplating how she would dispose of the Switch. I conducted a Google search for the term "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" and learned that the Switch does not come with any sort of tracking ability. As such, LETECIA likely felt it was safe to dispose of the Switch and used the missing Switch to help deceive law enforcement into searching for Gannon as a possible runaway. Ultimately, investigators located video surveillance from a neighbour's surveillance camera that showed what investigators believed to be LETECIA and an individual that appeared to match Gannon's physical description depart their residence in the Nissan Frontier at or about 10:16 hours on January 27th, 2020. The video camera is several homes away and does not provide images clear enough to make positive identifications of those captured in the recording. The vehicle returned at or about 14:19 hours and LETECIA exited the vehicle. After viewing the video, I cannot be sure if another person exited the vehicle or not, but I submit Gannon likely did return home with LETECIA that afternoon. These times, corroborated by data collected from an ADT security system installed in the STAUCH's residence, are discussed below in more detail. Based on data returned from the STAUCH's ADT security system, the motion detectors in the living room or basement did not register any activity from approximately 10:12 hours until LETECIA and Gannon entered the home at approximately 14:22 hours. Investigators confirmed Lena to be at school and confirmed that Harley was at work. As such, investigators believe there was likely nobody else in the residence except LETECIA and Gannon. LETECIA's historical cell site information, detailed information about her iPhone status, and a text message sent to Harley from Gannon's cell phone support that LETECIA left her cell phone at the STAUCH residence the morning of January 27th. The fact LETECIA left her phone at home is suspicious on its own, based on her history of extensive use of this phone. I have reviewed forensic search records from LETECIA's phone and found she is an active user of social media, including but not limited to Facebook and Instagram. A more detailed review of LETECIA's iPhone screen time log between January 25th at 0800 hours and January 29th at 1100 hours revealed that LETECIA spent approximately 38,607 seconds on Facebook and Facebook Messenger alone, which equates to approximately 10.7 hours of cumulative time over those few days. LETECIA's telephone was locked at or about 9:56 hours on January 27th and unlocked at 14:45 hours on the same day. The timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival to and from the residence and should be noticed by the court. Particularly, LETECIA did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back to the residence. On January 27th, there was a message sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, "Tisha left phone at home. If you need her, text me." This message was sent at or about 10:37 hours. Investigators were able to confirm, based on video surveillance footage and purchase receipts, that LETECIA travelled to Petco in Colorado Springs. This Petco is approximately 22 miles from the residence and is an approximate 30-minute drive based on Google Maps directions. The receipt shows that LETECIA completed her purchase at or about 11:22 hours. Gannon is not visible on any of the surveillance video obtained at Petco. LETECIA's whereabouts are unknown between approximately 11:22 hours and 13:22 hours. At 13:22 hours, LETECIA was again captured on video surveillance, making a second purchase at the same Petco. Mr. Stauch sent a text message to Gannon's cell phone at or about 12:06 hours that read, "Hey buddy." This message was unanswered until 13:21 hours. The response was, "Can I play Zelda at least?" Mr. Stauch replied, "Not today." A significant event occurred on Gannon's phone at or about 13:43 hours, which is prior to arriving back at the Stauch residence. There was an internet search for, "Can my parent find my cell phone if it's off?" I submit that this internet search was likely conducted by LETECIA on Gannon's phone and not Gannon himself. Furthermore, the search term was parent, singular. I submit it is reasonable that Mr. Stauch only, not LETECIA, would be interested in the location of Gannon's phone, and that LETECIA was possibly deliberating on how or if she would dispose of Gannon's phone after she murdered him. I conducted the Google search of "Can my parent find my cell phone if it's off?" and learned that the first answer returned in the search engine reads, "The answer to your question depends on what method is being used to track your location." Gannon's phone was found at the residence. I submit that LETECIA did not get rid of Gannon's phone for fear it might be traceable. The Nissan Frontier returned to the Stauch residence at or about 14:20 hours. A search warrant, authorised by the court, was executed on the Nissan Frontier and found no indications of blood inside the vehicle. LETECIA had been without her cell phone for hours, yet her screen was not unlocked until approximately 14:45 hours, which was 25 minutes after arriving back at the residence. During that 25-minute period, there was motion activity both upstairs and downstairs on the ADT records. Lena returned home from school around 15:15 hours. During a recorded forensic interview with investigators, Lena stated that when she returned home, LETECIA told her Gannon was asleep in her bed and that she could not see him. LETECIA told Lena to go outside and play. I submit that Lena was sent outside because Gannon was likely dead and LETECIA was cleaning up blood from inside the house. At or about 15:55 hours, Mr. Stauch sent another message to Gannon's phone, "Hey buddy." This message was not read until 19:40 hours. It is likely that Gannon was already murdered by LETECIA at the time Mr. Stauch sent the message. Based on exterior video footage, Harley arrived at the residence in her white VW Jetta at or about 16:42 hours and picked up Lena. At or about 16:52 hours on January 27th, LETECIA sent a text message to Harley requesting carpet cleaner, trash bags and baking soda. These items were likely used to clean up the murder scene. Harley purchased these items and investigators located a receipt documenting the purchase. Harley Hunt has refused to speak with investigators. Investigators do not believe that Harley was present when Gannon was killed. Harley was at work on January 27th from 8:30 hours to 16:15, and investigators were able to verify this with her employer. To be clear, investigators have not located any evidence that any person other than Lena and LETECIA had access to Gannon between approximately 10:00 hours and 17:34 hours on January 27th, 2020.